بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you? Welcome back to the final lectures of the course, and I hope you can pay close attention so we can finish everything we have to finish today, inshallah. Starting from lecture number 12, which will deal with a main topic, as I'm saying here in the in the first slide. I will be dealing in these slides with Robinson Crusoe as a colonialist figure. Why am I devoting all this effort and time to this issue? It is because I believe the novel centers on such a topic. Among the things that Robinson Crusoe as a novel deals with is colonialism. It is part and parcel of the novel. It is part and parcel also of the writer's scope and enterprise in the writing of this very important novel. So if you learn anything from the novel, you learn lots of ideas about the age itself, about the writer, about the nature of the rise of the novel, but you also learn this factor which is very, very essential to the novel, and this is colonialism, or Robinson Crusoe as a colonialist figure, drawn of course or depicted and described by a colonialist writer. And many British and European and Western writers are really into this colonialist discourse. In the following slides in this lecture and in the next lecture as well, we will concentrate on how the writer describes Robinson as a British person who is higher and better and more superior to any other creature on earth. And I mean it, creature, not just human being, but he is better than parrots, he is better than goats, he is better than cannibals, he is better than any other creature on earth. He is even better than his own parents and his own friends and his own neighbors. Do you understand? He is one and the only person important in this kind of colonialist novel. And before we start, let us refresh our minds by remembering what we said before. We said that Crusoe, the hero, who lives on the island for 28 years, lives there all the time as interested only in the basic needs of his body. I mean in his own survival. That's what we said. That's what you feel in the novel. The basic needs of his body, shelter, food, security, etc. The writer gives us all the details concerning his existence on the island, his body, his physical, his materialistic, his substantial, his concrete existence on the island. The writer focuses sometimes on the spiritual side, on the soul of the hero, but he rather focuses much more on that kind of existence which has to do with the body, with the desires, with survival. Perhaps this is logical and natural because he's alone and he can be exposed to dangers. He faces death, and that is quite true and expected. But you cannot cover 28 years of the life of one single person, even on an island, by stressing only the desires of hunger, of thirst, of shelter, of security, and so on. Man is not an animal. Man needs such things. Man needs to satisfy his or her desires and instincts. He needs to survive, but at the same time, one of the basic things that helps man to survive on earth is to have a healthy spiritual existence, to take care of the soul, to take care of the spirit, to take care of the innermost side of yourself. This is what the writer misses. He touches upon it several times, but on these occasions he is not convincing at all. The writer gives us all the details concerning his existence on the island, the existence of Robinson Crusoe, of course, And in terms of novel writing, in terms of the novel itself, sorry, we feel that the story has completely stopped. The writer gives us that impression that this is not a story, it's a travel book. So the story seems to have stopped, and we don't have any characters, just one person, Robinson Crusoe. We don't have any plot, simply because you can remove any sections without harming the structure of the novel. There is no action except what is happening to Robinson. That's a weakness, of course. The final effect on us is that Crusoe is the one and only important person on earth, as I said a short while ago. All those elements in front of us give us the impression that there is only one very important person, and that is Robinson Crusoe. All else is insignificant. Nothing is important. The only important thing is Robinson Crusoe. With this background in mind, we move into colonialism, but please let us take this with us. We mentioned it before. It's about verisimilitude. Why is he doing that? The writer is doing this in order, according to him, to achieve a verisimilitude. But instead of achieving it, he gives us a book that has hardly any fiction in it, just an account of the adventures of Robinson. This means that the novel fails to impress us with its verisimilitude. So what is the writer's justification in giving us all these details about the existence of Robinson? His justification is that this is one way of achieving verisimilitude, but as I said, we are not impressed. The novel fails to have any fiction or convincing fiction in it. In the latter part of the novel, the final part of the novel, there is a chapter in which we read this title: I find the print of a man's naked foot. A man was walking on the island without any shoes, and Robinson explores, as we said, he explores the island many times, and one day he finds the imprints of that man's feet on the island. What does that mean? It means that there are people there. There are people on the island. They have walked. They have most probably walked without Robinson noticing that. Let us read my summary. Crusoe is astonished one day to discover, he's surprised to know the single print of a man's naked foot in the sand. He is terrified. What is the result of this on Robinson? Notice that in the previous lectures I said that, and the novel itself says, that Robinson is quite sad. Why is he quite sad? It is because he's alone, and because he's alone and because of his sadness over being alone, he craves company. He needs company. He needs people to come to the island. He wants to get in contact, and sometimes he tells us that he wants to go back to England, but he's not very keen on that. So we have read so far that he wants people. Here are people. So logically, the result, when you find that there might be people on the island, the result is lovely. That is great, and you become happy and you smile. But the man, Robinson Crusoe, is terrified. He's terrified. He's afraid, and retreats to his castle. Retreats to his castle, that is to say, goes back to the place that he built. And he begins to, as I am going to say in the next slide, he begins to make it stronger and stronger, because he believes, or he thought that the devil has come to the island, has visited the island. That is superstitious, of course. No devil walks on the sand or on the island, or so one believes. I believe that devils do not walk this way. He convinces himself of that. His conclusion that it is not the devil, but a real man's footprint is equally terrifying. He concludes that this is the devil. It is not the devil, it is man's presence on the island, and both ideas are terrifying. He's afraid. The result is that he is afraid, and he meditates on the irony of being starved for human contact and then frightened of a man. This is what I said. He has been looking forward towards more people, more company, towards the coming of human beings to the island. But once there are people, as we begin to understand now, he becomes afraid. You know, he is a hesitant person. He hesitates. He's not very clear on anything. On the same slide, he is quite afraid, and that is why he fortifies his home. He strengthens, he makes it strong and stronger, and he has guns around it, keeping watch whenever possible. Concerned about his goats, I want you to look with me at this. He is very worried about his goats, the sheep and goats that he has. We have learned that he has gathered around him a number of goats, a flock. He wants them around him for milk, for wool, and for money later. But so when he is afraid that there might be terror and danger coming his way from cannibals or from people that he doesn't know, or even from the devil, when he is afraid of this, he takes care of the things that are very valuable to him. They are very precious, they are very rich, they have money behind them. So he is concerned about the goats, and he digs a cave in which to put them every night, and creates another smaller pasture far away to keep a second flock. He is very interested in the flock. He is very interested in the goats. Do you understand? And he is afraid. He is afraid for his health and for his survival. He is also afraid for the goats that can be taken away from him. He needs money. Money is important to him. We said that. Remember, we talked about Ian Watt's vision of the novels of Robinson Crusoe and of the rise of the novel in general, Ian Watt saying at that time in that lecture that money is a very important value in the literature of that period. There is mention of money, there is mention of the amount of money, there is mention all the time of the importance of money, how it is acquired, how it is spent, how much of it, how much remains, how much needed, you know. Now let us comment on this. When Crusoe finds the imprint of a man's foot, he spends 2 years living in fear. In the previous slide, I have said that he is afraid. Okay, but we didn't say how long this takes him, the fear. How long does he stay in fear? 2 years. My question is, do you think that this is a nice thing in a novel? For someone to remain afraid for 2 years? That is too much. It is exaggerated, of course. And it is against verisimilitude because it is not credible. What is credible? Credible means believable. I don't believe it. Do you believe it? Do you have a different point of view? You're most welcome. Tell me of it. Justify it. Explain it. Explain how it is normal, according to you, for Robinson to stay alarmed and scared for 2 years. That is too long, right? He is concerned, another piece of information, he is concerned about his goats, which I said, which I explained, about one major source of his wealth. Goats give him milk, wool, money, company also. They give him the feeling that he is the master of this island, among the other things that help him have this impression. As we said many times, the writer is keen on tracing Crusoe's wealth from time to time, telling us about his wealth, how big, how small, how needy, how... do you understand? All the time, wealth and money are things that can easily be traced in Robinson Crusoe, the novel. Questions now. When Robinson finds the print of a man's naked foot on the island, he spends... How much time does he spend living in fear? Does he spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years? Of course, the answer is this, number 2, 2 years. Another question? Yes. When Robinson finds the print of a man's naked foot on the island, notice that the heading of the question is the same, but the other part, the last part, is different. He takes care of his. Does he take care, when he finds that there are people on the island, does he take care of his goats, of his children, of his wives, of his friends? Tell me. It's easy. He takes care of his goats, right? Okay. I see the shore spread with bones. I see the shore spread with bones. When he goes to the shore, he finds the bones of human beings, which means this is another sign that there are people on the island. So there is the imprint of feet on the sand. There is also what he has seen now, the bones of human beings. Coming down to a far part of the shore, he explores the island, and this is another place away from the other one. He finds the beach spread with the carnage of humans. Eventually realizing that he is in no danger of being found by the cannibals, Crusoe's thoughts turn to killing them as perpetrators of wicked deeds and thereby saving their intended victims. He feels that there are people, and those people he calls, automatically, he calls them cannibals, man-eaters, people, human beings like us, but they are fierce and savage, and they kill people and eat them, or they eat them alive. That's what he decides before seeing them. Do you understand? He decides by looking at the imprint and by looking of the feet and by looking at the bones that these people are not ordinary human beings. So he decides that they are cannibals that must be killed. He waits every day on a hillside fully armed. He is ready to kill them. And he is one person, and he regards himself as able to kill all those people. He changes his mind as usual. He doesn't stay on one opinion all the time. He oscillates and hesitates. So he changes his mind, thinking that he has no divine authority to judge humans or to kill. Why hasn't he said that from the beginning? He realizes that it is bad to kill. He also realizes that killing them might entail a full-scale invasion by other savages. If he kills them, then other cannibals or savages will come to the island, so he changes his mind. I see the wreck of a ship. On another day, and this is the date, Crusoe is reading the Bible. Now he becomes a little bit better, but you have to notice that I said before that he only reads from the Bible, that he only prays when there is trouble. Do you understand? This is something that we have to learn all the time. He is reading the Bible because there is danger. Now we know. When he is surprised by a distant gunshot, pew, there is a gunshot, followed closely by another, 2 gunshots, pew, pew, guns shooting, which means another sign. So we have now 3 signs: the feet, the bones, the gun. The feet, the bones, the guns. Okay? He senses the shots are coming from a ship and builds a fire to notify the seamen of his presence. He understands, he is intelligent, we have to know. He understands that these shots they don't come from the island, they come from the shore, from the sea. The island is, of course, looking onto the sea. And he thinks that these gunshots come from the sea, from a ship. So he makes a fire in order to tell people on the ship that he is here on the island. By daylight, he perceives that the shots have come from the wreck of a ship whose men are now either gone or dead. A little later, he understands that all people on the ship are dead. Once again, he thanks Providence for his own survival. He compares what is happening now to the people on the ship to what happened to him before. In the past, he didn't die like others. Everybody else died, but he alone got survival. He lived. Going down to the shore, where he discovers a drowned boy, he appears to paddle out to the ship in his canoe. He finds the ship is Spanish and contains wine, clothing, and other things. So he doesn't care about the boy. He doesn't care about people. He doesn't look to see if there are people still alive or not, but he is much more interested in taking from the ship the things that will benefit him, like wine, clothing, and a great treasure in gold bars and doubloons, all of which he holds back to his dwelling. He takes all those things to his castle. Now, do you have some idea now about colonialism? Let us see what the dictionary says. This is from the Oxford Advanced Learner's Dictionary. It's an uncountable noun, colonialism. It means the practice by which a powerful country controls another country or other countries, like what European colonialism. You can read the definition at home. It's a long one. It says that the British Empire, the countries ruled by Britain starting in the late 15th century. So colonialism started in the 15th century. So I would ask you a question in the exam. Colonialism started in the 15th, 16th, 17th, or 18th century. Of course, the 15th century, until a peak around 1920. So it ended in 1920. Around 1920, some countries ended colonialism a little bit later, like Egypt, for example. But roughly, it is from the 15th century to the year 1920, when the British Empire included around a quarter of the world's population. At that time, from the 15th century to the 20th century, it was the empire over which the sun never set. A very huge empire. You can read the rest at home. It talks about colonialism in general. Crusoe reflects on the original sin of disobeying his father. When he is threatened all the time by the feet, the bones, and the gunshots, okay, he understands that he is in danger of extinction. He might die anytime. So he reads from the Bible, and he begins to think of something that is famous, well known in European culture as the original sin. The biggest, the first sin, the first crime that he committed in his life. For him, that first crime is what? Disobeying his father. And he explains it to himself, saying that because he disobeyed his father, he is going to face all those troubles and all those dangers. He considers that disobeying his father, he considers it to be a foolish decision for which he has to pay throughout his life. One night he dreams that 11 cannibals, savages, arrive on his island to kill a victim who escapes and runs to Crusoe for protection. That's the dream. Some 11 cannibals come to the island, and one of the victims runs in order to for Crusoe to save him. About a year and a half afterward, that is the dream. Suppose the dream is now. 1 year and a half later, Crusoe finds 5 canoes on the island and 30 cannibals on the beach, preparing 2 victims for slaughter, for killing. So the dream has come true. After 1 year and a half, after the first one is killed, so they are going to kill 2 people, 2 innocent people. They kill one, and he doesn't do anything. He looks at the scene in front of him. The second one breaks away and runs towards Crusoe as in the dream. He escapes from the cannibals and goes to Crusoe. He is pursued by 2 cannibals, but is faster than they are. Look at the things that I have done here in blue. Crusoe attacks both pursuers. These are cannibals. How many are they? 30. How many does he kill? 2. The pursuers. He takes the victim home and he kills the 2 people. So it is very easy for one person like Robinson Crusoe to kill 2 people at once. I don't know how, but this is what the writer wants us to understand. That man that he has saved from the hands of cannibals finds Crusoe to be friendly. The native vows devotion to his liberator, and that man again promises to be very sincere and very loyal to Crusoe. And he kills those other people, okay? Commentary. Let us comment on this. Crusoe thinks of the original sin of disobeying his father, recounting the foolish decisions he has made throughout his life. This shows that he only begins to think of his destiny, of his parents, and of God, as I said, when he is in trouble. He faces death by cannibals, and so he feels guilty at his disobedience of his father. What does Robinson mean by the original sin? It is disobeying his father. I would give you choices, of course, like this. Going to college, is it original sin? No. Getting married? No. It's not an original sin. It might be a sin, but it is not original. Having 2 farms? No. Disobeying his parents, this is the right answer. Okay? Crusoe attacks both pursuers and persuades the frightened victim to approach. This means that Crusoe has... So he kills 2 people and takes the other one as captive. What does that mean? It means that he has superpowers, he is a coward, he's afraid, he's British. The first one is correct. Finding Crusoe friendly, the native vows devotion to his liberator. He finds Crusoe to be a nice person and he promises to be loyal to him. This means that the native will be Crusoe's servant or teacher or neighbor or friend. He's going to be his servant. He gives him the name Friday. Friday. Yes, what is wrong here? Yes. I call him Friday. Why does he call him Friday? He gives him a name. Naturally, a cannibal doesn't talk English, doesn't speak English. So he begins to teach him language. The first thing that he teaches him is his name, and then he tells him, you are a servant and I am a master, right? The very first words that Friday learns after his name is servant and master. He is the servant and Robinson is the master, as I told you, colonialism. Crusoe names the native Friday to commemorate the day on which Crusoe saves the native man's life. Friday again asserts his subservience to Crusoe. Crusoe teaches him simple English words and clothes him. Returning together to the slaughter scene, Crusoe has Friday clean up the bones, so he deals with him now as a servant. He is a master and Friday is the servant. We will read later parts of this story. He is very happy about Friday and he teaches him to eat goat meat instead of human flesh. Okay? Why does Crusoe give the native name Friday? It is to commemorate the day on which Crusoe saves his life. Or to celebrate this important vacation? No. To teach him English? No. To swim with him on Friday? No. It is the first one. In the dictionary, Man Friday is the name of the faithful servant and companion in Daniel Defoe's novel Robinson Crusoe. Robinson gives him this name after saving his life on a Friday. The phrase Man Friday is now sometimes used to mean a trusted male assistant or servant, so it is a common phrase now used by everyone. The female equivalent is a girl Friday. As you have seen today, we have concentrated in this lecture on colonialism in the novel. We have taken part of that big issue. It is not an easy one. It's not a simple one. It talks about the feelings of Robinson Crusoe as a British colonialist young man, for him who believes that he is the most powerful, the most superior, the most learned, the most advanced, the most civilized, the most superior person on earth. Everybody else is less important. This is our starting point in that issue about colonialism, which we are going to complete later in the 13th and 14th lectures, inshallah. I hope that you have understood much, a great deal of this lecture. For me, that issue, that topic of colonialism is really very interesting, and it shows us the dark side of the picture, the unknown side of the picture of British writers who regard the East in general as less civilized than the West. Thank you very much, and see you next lecture, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.